All right, so Yokai Monsters 100 Monsters is a 1968 tokusatsu film produced by Dai Studios, which also did the Daimajin movies. So this is directed by Kimiyoshi Yasuoka and with VFX by Yoshioki Kuroda. Okay, I as usual butcher those names. Okay, so this is the first in a trilogy of movies. Two of them were made in '68, and the third one came out in '69. So you have Yokai Monsters 100 Monsters, and then you have Yokai Monsters Spook Warfare. And the last one is called Yokai Monsters Along with Ghosts. So the idea was to do like, so firstly, what is yokai? So yokai is like a sort of like a blanket term for spirits and supernatural entities in Japan, which usually take, sometimes they take human form, sometimes they take like animal or monster form, and they can also be like inanimate objects. So there's like a yokai in this, which is basically an umbrella with a tongue, so you get like a lot of weird stuff, and they're not evil. Like some of them might be, but in general they can be helpful, they can be evil, they can be just indifferent, but yeah, they're like a mix of things. So talking about the film, so what's interesting is you don't get too many yokai, even though the film is called Yokai Monsters, but it's a good plot, so because it's a sort of like a rock solid plot, you remain interested. So the yokai, when they do show up, it's kind of, like, yeah, okay, now we're getting something, but it's much less sort of yokai focused than it should be. So the movie starts off and you get this old man like going through the forest, and he's probably lost. And then suddenly there's like wind blowing, and he hears something, and there's like this giant sort of like a yeti or a bear kind of a yokai standing in front of him. So he gets really scared and he's trying to run away, but the yokai sort of like hugs him. And when he gets up, the yokai is gone. It's like next day morning. And then he gets back to his village and he tells the story to everyone. And you kind of assume, like, even though they don't really specify it, but you kind of go like, maybe the yokai was just keeping him safe. Like it was stormy and the yokai just wanted to keep him safe. But then when he tells the story, and at the end of the story, they do this ceremony to sort of, please the yokai. So that's like an important thing. Like at the end of any yokai story, you should do this ceremony, which sort of has, it has an effect later on in the movie. Okay, so once the initial bit is done, you kind of find out that all of these people are sort of like these really poor people who are living in this tenement housing, which is run by this one man. He's a nice man, he's not evil. And there's also like a shrine. So this the man who you see in the beginning, the old man, he sort of is the caretaker of the shrine. And you find out that the local landlord, like the rich landlord, he wants to take over all of it. So he can build like a brothel over there, which was kind of amusing to me, because nowadays you go like, we're going to build a shopping mall here, and he's just straight up like, yeah, we're going to build a brothel. Like who gives a shit? Yeah, so he has already bribed like the shrine administrator to, because like no one visits the shrine, it's old, we're just going to destroy it. So there's a lot of fighting that happens, and the old man is like, I won't let you destroy it. So they beat up the old man, which leads to his death. And he has already bribed everyone, so he can just take over. And then you also find out that he has also tricked the owner of the tenement housing. So the owner's wife was really sick, and he needed some medicine from abroad. So the rich guy says, "Oh, I'll give you money to get the medicine for your wife." The wife never recovered, but now he's given him enough money that he can pretty much just, he's like, if you don't return the money, then give me the deed to the tenement housing. And that's always been his plan. But along with that, because that isn't evil enough, he also wants his daughter, because he wants to give his daughter to like one of the lords. Like he's sort of doing all of this to curry favor with one of the local lords or something. And that's like the whole plan. So in the middle of all of this happening, like he's like, yeah, I've gotten control of all of it. And then the local lord sort of visits. He's like, yeah, we'll get it done soon enough. So they're like, we're going to destroy the shrine tomorrow anyway. So that'll happen. And so for the night, they bring in this one guy who's like a storyteller, who's going to tell them like the yokai stories. And so you get like, so he tells some of the stories, And then in that you get like this one story which they tell you, which is like these two guys who've gone fishing, and this voice keeps telling them like, don't fish here, this is like the pond of death or something like that. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. And so that's a pretty cool scene, because you get this when they get back home, and the wife sort of transforms, and she's got like this long elongated neck, which is, these are all stuff from legend. So that's called rukoru kobi. So kobi means neck in Japanese, I'm guessing, and rukoru is like, I think it's a term for a lot of things, but it also means like umbrella or a telescope, because like it, like an umbrella extends. So rukoru kobi is like, extending neck. So it defines two things. Like there's either a yokai with an extending neck, or even a yokai where it can detach the head and the head can float around. So in this case, it's like the extended neck, which is done very well. Like I'm still sort of wondering like how they did that, but it is pretty well made. So you get like that one scene and one story, and at the end of it, he's like, okay, now I've told you the story, so we need to do the ceremony to, to calm down the yokai. And the rich landlord is like, yeah, I don't believe in all of this stuff, so just go away. And so that sort of leaves the door open for the yokai to show up. And then the next day they go and they destroy the shrine, and which really pisses off the yokai. And in the meantime, he commits a few other murders. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but yeah. And then the yokai like, okay, this is it. We're like, these are just evil people, and we're going to like take care of this. And so then like the yokai finally show up, and they kind of do their thing, which is mostly, they don't really attack, they just make them go mad, which is very interesting. Like the end scene with the lord in his bedroom is really well made. So because he's just gone mad, like he's seeing all the yokai, and he's gotten his sword, and he's trying to like kill them. And they've done a pretty good job, because they're all just like, it's not animation, it's just a lot of people with wearing like masks and costumes, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, he's just gone mad, and like swinging his sword around, and eventually I think he has like a heart attack or something and just dies, something like that. But yeah, it's done pretty well. So yeah, so overall, like, it's a good story. Like, even though you don't get too many yokai till like the final like 20 minutes of the movie, because it's like a fairly nice plot of this rich guy trying to steal their land, and there is also like a spy that has been sent by a higher lord, because they're like, yeah, we think there's something fishy going on here. And so you get like a lot of moving parts, and it's all done, it's a rock solid script. So because of that, you remain interested, even if you don't get as many yokai. But once the yokai do show up, it's done really well. Like you get this one scene with like a giant head, which they keep sort of running away from. So all of that stuff, the elongated neck lady is great. There's a scene where the rich landlord has like a son who is sort of mentally challenged, and he keeps seeing the floating umbrella thingy. So he keeps playing with them all the time. So that scene is kind of funny. There's also a scene where one of the rich landlord's like main henchmen sort of starts to go mad, because he keeps seeing people with like no faces, and he eventually just sort of loses his mind. As I said, like the nice thing is that they don't directly attack people, they just make them go mad and kill themselves, which is pretty nice. So yeah, overall, it's a really fun movie. So I'm gonna like check out the other two and review those two as well. There's also a fourth one called Great Yokai War, which is pretty recent, which is from like 2000s. So when I get around to finishing these three, I'll check out that one as well. But overall, yeah, this is a fun movie.